Hello everyone, Simon here with AvaTrade, and we're starting our regular weekly trading plan webinar. I want to welcome everyone, for those of you that are returning, and of course, special welcome to new people that are coming to watch the webinar. And before we go any further, of course, I'd like to read the risk warning. Any capital markets and trading information disclosed in this webinar is provided for informative purposes only and should not be construed or applied as investment advice, a recommendation, or suggestion. CFDs are complex instruments and come with high risk of losing money rapidly due to leverage. 71% of retail investor accounts lose money when trading CFDs with this provider. You should consider whether you understand how CFDs work and whether you can afford to take the high risk of losing your money. And you can find the full risk disclosure statement at avatrade.com. Again, I want to welcome everyone, and just a couple of words for those of you who are new to this webinar. The whole idea is really to kind of create a structure to go and look into upcoming events and in general fundamentally what's happening in the market and the world. And also we're going through some important events on economic calendar, and then we're going through certain instruments, and this is pretty much the agenda. So we do the fundamentals, a little bit of economic calendar, and then we go to the instruments, indices, forex, commodities, and stocks. Okay, and just the importance of it, as I always like to say, you plan your trade and then you trade your plan, and that creates a structure, and the plan is a good thing to have, and sticking to it, it makes your life easier as far as what to trade, what to prepare for. And we are going through certain levels and possible trade scenarios that are waiting for us in the upcoming week. So before we go to economic calendar, let's just try to find out what's happening in the world and what's possibly what kind of effect could have in the upcoming week. And of course, the ongoing thing, unfortunately, is still there, the COVID. And there's a lot of uncertainty with this new variant. There was an interview that I was watching last week with the CEO of Pfizer, Mr. Burla, and it was interesting to watch it. And I was a little bit disappointed because it was a serious matter, and whoever was interviewing him, I think it was on CNBC, was trying to get some specific answers from him, and he wasn't so clear with it. And for me personally, I could be mistaken. For me personally, it wasn't really reassuring uh, mood coming out of what he had to say, because he said that even the data, they don't have a complete data, and what they do, the research they do, it's done not on the real virus. And so really it was not that clear. But basically what he was saying in a simple language, that the third booster, the third vaccination, it brings protection back to 95%, and without it, it's really fading against the new variant. So that's something that I got out of it. So that's the COVID. The major, of course, economic, not the event, but the outcome in a way, it's the inflation. We had the CPI numbers on Friday, and they reached 6.8%, which is the highest level in the past 39 years. So it was priced in a way, because that's what the market was expected. So I don't know if you did watch the news when it was announced. The market really continued higher, and the truth is we'll be looking at the chart in a moment, but S&P 500 closed at the highest historical point ever. We'll be looking at it in a moment. So it's just strange how um, the highest inflation, even though it was priced in a way, it was talked about, it was expected, and still the market is just going higher like there's never tomorrow. And really, interesting. We're living in interesting times. I haven't seen anything like that in 21 years plus of my trading career. But again, just to take into consideration something that just hit my mind thinking about it. We're in December, and the Wall Street historically always trying to close the year on the high for simple, selfish reason. They just like to get nice bonuses. So uh, whatever they have to do, they do. Of course, the whole market, we know it's just not just the speculative. Of course, it's a lot of manipulation, not necessarily illegal ones, but that's the stock market. That's the Wall Street for you. So they are pushing the market higher. Something that I mentioned last week. That's the Santa Claus rally, and it could be they'll be pushing it and closing it at the high of the year. We'll see. And of course, you probably read a few things, the predictions for the next year. They're already loading it, all the analysts from the major financial institutions. So some predict move higher, some actually predict stagnation. Others, I think RBC and UBS Bank, they predict fall of a few hundred points on S&Ps. We'll see. We'll see how it goes, and that's the beauty of the market. We really don't know how and what will happen, but it's not our job to predict it. We just have to look at the markets and try to find a little bit of a wave that we can jump on and just ride it as much as we can to take some profits on the market. That's the job of the retail investor or retail trader. Okay, so let's move on. So we spoke about the inflation coming out. We spoke about COVID, and let's take a look what's expected this week as far as the economic calendar. So I just took the most important events or announcements. So Sunday we have the manufacturing index from Japan. Tuesday we have unemployment rates from UK. Wednesday is the key day, and this is it. I'll just go through all of it and then focus on the most important. Retail sales from China, consumer price index, inflationary numbers from UK, very important. Retail sales of US, very important. CPI numbers from Canada, and then the governor of the Bank of Canada speaking, very important. And the most important, of course, we're waiting. They'll have two-day meeting, which is starting on the Tuesday, the 14th of December, and finishing on 15th, which is Wednesday, and it will follow with the announce. So they will announce the interest rate decision. Of course, there's no change expected at this time. Then we have monetary policy statement announced by Powell, and we have economic projections. And the most important part of it is going to be 30 minutes later, as usual, with the FOMC press conference, where there are going to be a lot of reporters drilling Powell for some answers, and that's what the Wall Street's really watching: the language, his reaction, and of course, what's the plan in upcoming months. Then we have GDP numbers from New Zealand and Australian governor of the bank speaking following that. Then on Thursday, we also have some numbers, unemployments from Australia, European Council meeting. We have interest rates from Switzerland, Swiss franc, PMI numbers from European Union, and that's also the press conference from Switzerland following the interest rate decision. And interest rate decision from UK, it's also on Thursday. Very important. Some expect changes, others don't. I mean, the common expectation is no change. And interest rate decision from EU. So it's a week full of interest rate decisions from, we have European Union, we have UK, US, of course, and also Friday, a culmination with the Japan press conference, and of course interest rate decision and so on. So a very busy week. So we'll be watching that. And let's move on to to the MT4 platform and we start looking at some individual instruments. So something to speak about this week or to follow in this week is of course the indices, and we start from indices, and S&P 500 we'll use as the major one. I'm going to make it bigger so we'll see it. So we spoke last week about S&Ps. We said the potential we're going to move lower, and with this announcement I'm going to bring the same chart we'll look at last week. So this is S&P. We spoke about it. We traded. I switched to a daily chart. They were traded below 50. We held the 100 moving average, and take a look. This was on the 6th of December. The moment we closed about the 50, it triggered the buying, and this was a strong move on the 7th of December. Then we had a little bit of playing around the high of the price, and this was the high of Friday following the inflation numbers. And this is, even though we had the higher point here, but this is the highest closed, and it closed on the high. So technically speaking, we could see continuation on Monday, usually when we close Friday higher than Thursday, and especially here we close on the highs, we could continue moving higher. Let's see how everybody digest this inflational news and everything else, and how we start the week. But so far, all-time high close on S&Ps 500. Okay, just what's important by S&P is just I wanted to bring up to your attention. Sorry, there's 6 companies in S&P 500 that actually responsible for 26% of the value of S&P, and that's Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Tesla, and Facebook. So very very interesting. As S&P made an all-time high, I'm going to jump a little bit. We'll talk about stocks in a moment, but I have to jump to Apple, and I want to talk a little bit about Apple stock. Apple continues higher. We spoke about it. Actually, we speak about it every week. It's very aggressive move higher, and it could be that they will bring Apple to the all-time high towards the end. We are the all-time high, but I think what they're trying to do, Apple is the closest one to a mark of a $3 trillion company, and the new target of few brokerages, including Morgan Stanley and others, they set up a target price of $200 per share. Previous price was set at 165, and that means if Apple reaches 200, the valuation of the stock or market capitalization of the stock will be 3.3 trillion. So I think that's what they're trying to aim for and really close the year on that. I don't know if they'll be able to do it, but we did move significantly. Just take a look at the weekly chart. We had a very strong move. We were sitting around 135, and then in the last few weeks we moved to 179. So we closed on the highs. We'll be watching it, Apple, and just to give you a little bit of a history of Apple stock. It's been around for 40 something years, and it's been very very strong. And the products, I think the main focus now, they have of course the Apple or iPhone is one of the key products, but they have other things, and now they're focusing on the virtual reality, and that brings a lot of profits to the company. So it's very diversified. Of course, they have services, they have other devices, and it's a very, very strong company. And as far as valuation, it's really, really strong, and they're trying to bring it to $3 trillion. It's going to be really amazing. So just wanted to share that with you as far as the Apple stock. So let's move back to indices. So we said the S&P brand new all-time high close. Nasdaq 100, we had a strong day, but we not beating the all-time highs so far. And Dow Jones was very, very strong. We closed the week on the highs as well. And we'll see how the Monday starts. And on the flip side, the European indices didn't do great. On Friday, they were actually selling for a couple of days, and that's especially the UK index, the FTSE, because of the situation with COVID there, which is really, the infections are doubling and tripling. It's a lot of issues there. For those of you in UK, you probably know it firsthand. They demanding the masks, and they actually encouraging, or I don't know what the situation will be next week, but most of the people are actually directed to work from home, and we'll see how that develops. The same thing in Germany, where the 2 selling days, and Friday was a little bit up, and Nikkei was also in the Asian index was selling off the end of the week. Friday was a little bit of a bounce. So again, we'll see how the week starts. Technically speaking, closing on the highs might continue into the Monday, and we'll be watching this. So as far as indices, that's clear. Oil, we spoke about oil, and we said that we found a support around this level, and so far we've been bouncing from here, and now we're really having a little bit of a hard time breaking above. This is the daily chart, breaking about $72. We did for a moment, then we closed lower, and now we're climbing again. So for oil, it's very simple. The Thursday levels would be the key levels for direction for the next direction. So the low of Thursday was $70.37. We held it on Friday, so that's a support. And the high of Thursday would be our next resistance, and that's 73.31. So we are in the range, and we've been in this range before. Take a look historically. Back in June, we were entering this range and trying to come out of it, then sold out, then came back to this range again before breaking to the highs, and then the sell-off happened with the new variant came in, just to remind everyone, and then we recovered pretty much fast from the lows. 4.5, 5 days, we're back into the range. So between 70 and a quarter and 73 and a quarter, it's around $3 a range for oil to make a decision what's next. Natural gas, we spoke about natural gas, and we said that it might find support these levels, especially hitting the 50 moving average right here. And it's true, it did hold this level. And as of now, we had the whole week pretty much, we had the up day, including Friday. Friday we closed on the highs. So it could be that we will try to close the gap to 4. And just to remind everyone, this gap happened on Monday, and I just looked for some reasons, and they explained the simple thing that the mild weather caused the consumers, or the private houses and the businesses, to turn off the heaters and not to use natural gas. And they say it also kind of moved away the threat of a cold winter and so on. So it's a pure fundamental on the demand part. So let's see what happens. I guess it's weather related. So if the weather stays like that, mild winter would cause less usage or less predicted usage of natural gas. But in any event, some analysts say that we are hitting the supports here, even though natural gas is still up 43% from the last year prices. So let's just see. That's what they write. The low here is 363. That's December of this year. And then let's take a look. December of 2020. Those two, yeah. We were here in December, and then a year later, we're still up. Even after this drop, which is a huge drop, we're still up 43% in a year. So it's still strong. So again, natural gas, it could be they just found a nice support here, and we slowly might climb a little bit higher from here. But again, we need to close about the 200 moving average, which we are struggling now. So that's as far as natural gas. Let's take a look at gold really quick. Gold is trading closer to the upper end of the range, 1783, and we're having a hard time. We have this fake breakouts, but so far we didn't have a closure about the level. So 1780, 1785 is still a resistance here, and the bottom of this channel is around 1758, and we are still in the range. So we need to break out either way to have a little bit of a move, but definitely it's a little bit of accumulation going on before the move. And of course, the biggest reason for the move up would be the anything to do with the inflation. And as of now, I was surprised to see that with this high inflation, the gold really didn't move higher. So let's see, let's follow up what's next. Let's take a look quickly at other metals. Palladium, no strength here. Platinum as well, but we are holding the current levels. So let's see what's next. Coffee. We spoke about coffee that we made a high, and then the whole week we're pretty much selling off, but we still didn't reach the last week's low. So I guess the last week low would be the next support on coffee, and that's 229.2. We'll be watching that, and of course on the upside, we'll be watching the 248, 250 level. It could be that's a temporary correction happening. It could be the reversal starting. We will not know until we see what's further happening there. Wheat, second week of selling. Let's take a look at the daily chart. But we are sitting, excuse me, we're sitting on a 50 moving average. So let's see if that creates a strong support for reversal. As of now, these tails and the reversals could mean that it could be that we are reaching a little bit of a support. And take a look, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're holding around 770. Soybeans, still trying to test the previous resistance, and corn very close to the breakout. Let's see if anything happens there. So that's as far as commodities. Let's move to Forex. We start with dollar index, and as we spoke about last week, as long as we're holding around $96, really keeping strong. This was the first attempt to break below, and that's why we have 96. So the low here is 95.99. We draw the level here, and so far with all these tails, we're still closing above that level. So 96 is still holding, and therefore all the currencies against the dollar are still looking to the weak side, even though with the recent bounce. And let's look at some currency pairs. So we start with dollar Turkish lira, of course, with the issue we spoke about last week with Erdogan firing the finance minister, and there's a big mess there in a simple language. So all these tails are still holding. So around 13, let's see, what's the high here? 1387 roughly. So we are actually trading higher than that. We closed on the highs on Friday. We could continue higher unless something changes there. Dollar yen had an up weak, but we still, after this sell-off, we're still ranging here. So dollar yen is really acting without any direction at this point. We had a sell-off. We below 114. We went as low as 112.50 here, and we're kind of in the middle now. So no specific direction here. We need to break through the ranges to make a move. Dollar Swiss, as we said, this week we have interest rate decision from both US dollar and Swiss franc. Let's see if anything happens. So far, a lot of spikes both ways. Nothing's happening. USD CAD. USD CAD, the last 3 days had to move up. We are holding this attempt to sell. We're holding around 126.32. And on the big picture, let's take a look at the weekly chart. If we do continue move up, that would be something major to do with US dollar. And of course, Canadians are announcing as well this week. And of course, the price of oil that's affecting Canadian dollar. So as of now, last week low would be our indication as a possible support, and the last week high as a possible resistance. So we'll be watching this range, and that's about 230 pips. This is the daily chart. Australian dollar, we spoke about last week. If you remember, I spoke about 3 currencies that possibly going to move in a reversal for this week, and it did happen. And we spoke about Australian dollar, which did nicely. Let's take a look. What was the 70.06, 71, about 180 pips move. Very nice. And we're hitting straight into the averages. New Zealand dollar also had a move, not as strong as Australian dollar, and the pound as well. So those 3 currencies really worked out as we said. And I just remind everybody why on the pound level we spoke about this tail right here a year ago exactly, almost a year ago exactly, from which we made a nice advance to the upside. And I was mentioning this, that this level might play a strong support for us, and it did. And after a few attempts, this is daily chart. So Wednesday we went below, came back. Thursday went below, closed on the highs, and Friday was a nice move higher. So it was a nice plan that we had last week that really worked, especially in Australian dollars, very, very strong. Okay, so that's as far as last week's plan. And euro dollar is still ranging between 112, 113.70. It's really having a hard time. Even though it shows the 112 is really becoming a strong level of support, but we are indecisive there as far as euro dollar. Now, the few pairs really made a nice move, and I'm expecting some interesting action in those, and that's to do with Australian dollar. I just want to bring it to your attention. Take a look, very, very strong move down on GBP Aussie. So we'll see how what this week will show. If pound getting some strength, I would expect this move to continue. There was a very strong drop. Let's just take a look from the top of the move to the bottom. It's about 500 pips, 520 pips move on pound Aussie, and we recovered a little bit. We are about 50 moving average. We fighting now the 100 moving average. So let's see if this steam keeps on going, and if we have some strength to continue higher. It would be very interesting to watch. The same thing on Euro Aussie. Let's take a look. What could be possible? This was the previous support right here. We held it. And so 157.50 could be a support. So some traders might consider buying it here in expectation for a reversal. And again, over here, it's also a very strong move, very aggressive move lower, about 440 pips, 450 pips. So even if a 30 move retracement, that would be about 150 pips to the upside. So that's Euro Aussie and Aussie NZD, similar idea. This one was very, very interesting. We are hitting the moving average here, which potentially could give another reason for a reversal. And we are going to watch this. So pretty much Friday's high would be a resistance or level to watch, 105.60. And let's see, let's measure this move in pips, how many pips we had it approximately. Okay, this one is about 200 pips more. Okay, so this three, pound Aussie, Euro Aussie, and Aussie NZD, we'll be watching this week for possible reversal or continuation. Of course, the opposite scenario is possible. We could continue in the same direction. Okay, that's it with currencies. And let's, before we move to stocks, I just want to bring to your attention the Bitcoin and Ethereum, of course. Bitcoin is holding after this flash sell. We are holding around we held this moving average here around 46,500, currently trading at 48.5. It looks like we're holding here. So that's as far as Bitcoin. And Ethereum is also holding the positions here. So we'll see what the next week will show. There's nothing significant fundamentally happening in cryptocurrency. We'll see what happens there. So let's wrap it up with stocks. And we spoke about Apple. Um, we mentioned that it's on the way up, and the new target's 200. And of course, the evaluation of 3 trillion is on the horizon. Microsoft had a very strong day on Friday. We spoke about the recent sell-off when the insider was selling the shares, and we are on the way to retest the highs. And the closed on Friday was 343.64. Google was actually having a down day on Friday, but it's still bounced from the recent sells and is holding the levels. Amazon had a strong sell-off. I guess we're getting to Christmas and so on. There's some fundamentals that are pushing the stocks lower, but we are holding the 3,400, around 3,400 levels on Amazon. Tesla holding the moving average. We still didn't close below below the 50 moving average. The low here was, this was on the 6th. We were below 950, but we closed higher. It was a nice fake breakout or breakdown, and then we closed higher. Then Thursday was a sell-off. Friday we closed higher. We're still holding. There's no closure below the 50-day moving average. And just for your knowledge, they announced that so far Musk sold about 12 billion worth of the stock. And I just tried to realize why, besides all the jokes with the Twitter, everything, it's very simple. He needs to pay tax on the shares that he just exercised on his options. So far, 12 billion worth of stock was sold as of now, and it is holding here. Facebook, it's really the key levels here around 330. Something is building up here, so we'll be watching it either way. Cisco is very, very strong, It's on the way to all-time highs as Friday brought a lot of tech stocks to the high, including the Apple, Cisco. After the recent sell-off, it really recovering nicely. Netflix, actually, we had the previous week was a strong sell-off, and this week not much is happening, but we know that 594 is holding. And take a look, we spoke about last week how the levels repeat themselves, so pretty much to the penny. This level that was a resistance, it really held as a support the week before, and so far it was really holding those levels on Netflix. GM had a very strong Friday. That's why I brought it to the list. We we are through the previous resistance. The first resistance that we had here, 63.19 was the closing price. Walmart also had a strong week. We spoke about it, that we found the support around 135, and then it bounced from it, a little bit of a correction and continuation, and we are facing a resistance of a 200 moving average here on the daily chart. So we'll be watching this 141 level on Walmart. And three financial stocks, they're really suffering a little bit. And those are the Citigroup. We are pretty much clearing to the downside. All the moving average we just closed below, below all of them. So let's see what's next. As far as the levels, around 57.50, that's where we bounce from. So we could go another $3 till we find some kind of a support, or this could be support as well. Anyway, it's very, very weak, and it is really selling for some reason. Goldman Sachs also, Friday was a selling day. We are below 50 and 100 moving average. It could be that we will try to retest the previous support, and that's around 378. And JP Morgan as well, after sell-off, has no recovery power here. So we are sitting at the 200 moving average over here. And let's take a look at Pfizer. Pfizer Friday had to move up, I guess, after the announcement that the third booster is helping against the new variant. And the last three stocks I want to bring up, we spoke about it. It's a Snapchat. We said that we might have a nice bounce as we're getting closer to the moving average. It was a nice bounce, even though Friday was sold out a little bit. Twitter also had a bounce from this sell-off. We don't know if it will continue, but it was a little bit of a, it was percentage-wise, was pretty much a good move. And Uber, we spoke about Uber a while ago, and there's a lot of selling pressure there. And we are it's been really selling. We this current move came from around 49, and we trading around 36, 37. But why I brought it up is we're still holding the last after this strong sell-off last week. We are holding the last week's low. So 35 and a quarter, 35.21 to be precise, it's holding. So again, for those traders that like to catch a quick reversal, something to watch. If we are holding these levels around 35 and a quarter, it could be that it would be bouncing. And Alibaba is the last one, actually. We spoke about it, and we spoke about all the issues with the Chinese government. And I brought it to your attention that it's bouncing here, and it is holding. So this initial bounce, which was strong, it's really holding. So it could be that at least temporarily, it's going to continue to the moving average. If you take a look at the weekly chart, it has a huge drop. We're coming from 300 levels to 100 levels, so it's a huge drop. We lost around two-thirds of the value of the stock within a year. All right, so something to watch. Okay, that's it pretty much. And just to wrap it up, the upcoming week will be filled with inflationary data, with also decisions from US, Europe, UK, Japan on interest rate. And of course, the most important one is on the US with the Powell speech and press conference and everything else. And we'll see what's next. And we'll see how the week starts after this strong close on the US equity markets on Friday. I wish everyone an amazing week. Stay happy and healthy. All the best. Take care.